What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Speaking Sessions podcast. I've got a guest that's not returning from the Speaking Sessions podcast, but the Healthy Living Sessions podcast. So if you've been around for a while, you may have listened to that when I did fitness coaching. Now, obviously, public speaking and communication, but we've got this guy back, and he's also made a little bit of a transition. But before we get into talking about that today, he is a CEO of Smart Shark, rather, not Shark Tank. That would be kind of cool as well. But Smart Shark, a highly sought after business growth consultancy. Jonathan's mission in life is to help business owners turn their vision into reality. Jonathan has 14 years of business development experience, is a multi-best-selling author, and is the host of the Real Talk with Real Business Pros podcast. Jonathan has coached thousands of coaches and business owners in starting, scaling, and growing their business. And he's also a loving husband and now a father. This says soon to be, but he is a father of an 18-month-old, no longer angry potato sack, and he lives in Dallas, Texas. But Jonathan, now that I've totally screwed up the bio here, and I'm making you laugh, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here, man. And clearly I need to update my press kit. I've created a tiny human from the last time I've updated that. So yeah, man. And dude, something I just thought about, because I didn't even think about, like, yeah, but this is a totally different podcast from when we first met. Man, that was like 7 years ago, like 8 years ago.
I don't think it was quite that long, but yeah, it was at least 5 years ago for sure.
Yeah, it was a hot minute, man, but it was cool because it was when you and I were both kind of starting in our ventures and what we were doing. And just to watch, like, dude, how you've grown from fitness to like what you're doing in public speaking and leadership development. It's just been cool, man, to kind of just watch that progression over the years. Like, hey, man, I remember that guy when he was first starting out. So, dude, I just want to honor you with that.
Yeah, and of course we connected because you were also in the fitness industry, and now you switched over to more book launches and helping businesses develop and grow and scale and everything. So it's cool to see that journey because I know you had quite a bit of success in the fitness space, so to speak. But I have a feeling, and I'd love to hear actually why you so I'm just going to say, why did you decide to make that shift from just the fitness coaching over to what you're doing currently?
I'm glad you asked that question, Philip. I tell this story a lot. The reason I made the switch, man, is I worked in big box, like corporate America in the fitness industry for well over 10 years. And, you know, I started off as a personal trainer and worked my way up to an assistant fitness manager, general manager, regional small group training director. I became a subject matter expert for a bunch of different companies for the sales processes. And regardless of all that stuff, Philip, at the end of that rainbow, I was still a slave to that job. I was working 6 days a week, 10, 12-hour days. I was so exhausted on Sunday, I slept all day. So I basically had no relationship with my wife. I got to the point where I actually hated fitness. Think about that, dude. Someone that went to college for this, dedicated a decade of their life, literally is at the point where I'm like, I don't even want to work out. I was so just burnt out with just how those companies run their companies and treat their people, and they're focusing on money versus actually focusing on taking care and providing a great service. So after, jumping around from different companies, Philip, what I realized was they're all the same, man. They're just wearing different jerseys, and I kept thinking if I just find the right company, then everything will be okay. No matter where I went, everywhere I went, there I was. So then that's when I made the decision that, like, maybe this isn't the right ladder for me, man. Based on the kind of life that I want to have, which for me, freedom's the thing I value most. Don't get me wrong, money's great. We do okay, right? Make a few bucks, but that's not what I put my value on. I put my value on my time to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. That is the most valuable thing to me. So when I reached that realization, and I also realized, Philip, I'm going to work just as hard, no matter whether it's for someone else or for me, the same amount of work's required. Why the hell am I not doing it for me?
Yeah.
Why am I playing scared?
Yeah.
Why am I settling for pennies of my worth? Because I'm afraid to go into the unknown. So that's what got me obsessed with marketing, because I knew that if I could learn marketing, because I knew how to sell, I know how to coach, I knew all those parts from over 10 years working for other people, but I did not know the marketing part. That's when I started investing in myself. That's where you and I got connected in a mastermind that you and I were both a part of. And as I started developing that skill set, man, I started learning like, wow, like this whole social media thing really isn't that complicated. People overcomplicate it. But once you start understanding the fundamental principles of like how this social media thing works, man, you've got a tool that literally can be the gateway to take you to anywhere you want in life if you're just willing to do the work. And for me, it's like if I'm willing to, run towards this the rest of my life, but the income and the ceiling is unlimited, that's worth it to me. And as I've gone down that venture to kind of like transition to go back to your question, why have you got out of fitness? Was, man, when I was in the fitness industry, like I fell in love with the business side while I was there. Don't get me wrong. I will always love helping, the people that I help lose weight and get in shape. And I can't even count how many clients I coached, man, probably tens of thousands over that point. But what I got most passionate about was being able to help the other trainer, to help them build their business. A lot of people may not know this, but, most trainers don't make it, and the ones that do, the retention rate for them in the industry is only about 2 years before they have to quote unquote get a real job.
Wow.
That's awful, dude. They don't get to follow their purpose because they don't have a pathway to do so. Yeah. So I decided to be that person to create that path for my brothers and sisters. So we started off with helping them with marketing, started off with helping them with developing funnels. Then I figured out that, hey, if you have a funnel, but you don't know how to post on social media, that doesn't matter. So now I got to teach you that. And then I figured out, hey, if they don't know how to close deals, then none of it matters. So now I'm going to teach you how to close deals. Right. And it's become this progression of everything I have done has come with the sole purpose of serving our people. Every single service. Now, don't get me wrong. I've had some services I've had to take back around the barn and execute. Wasn't the best idea. I don't get it right every time. But what as we've gone through this, Philip, there's two things that I've discovered that are really like just essential for people that we've just gotten really, really good at, right? Number one is every single business owner, coach, consultant, whatever, needs a CRM. You need a system that is going to help keep your business streamlined. And once again, having systems in place that can do the heavy lifting so that coach can actually focus on working on their business versus in their business. That was me for like 3 years, Philip. 3 years, just grinding away, wondering why I keep beating my head against the wall and I'm not growing. I feel like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. But that's when I realized that if I want to get to the next level, I have to change the way I think. And as I started to change the way that I think, I started to realize that, hey, I need to get clear on the task that will actually make me money, that will actually grow my business, not just have a job for myself. So that's why that's so important. And that's why we've made that a big focus. Now, as Philip, as you've brought me on here, which is, really what we've gotten into the last year, that's been like our core focus, has been our book publishing. So the story with that we joined the mastermind and, Philip, we're part of that. And one of the first things that they asked us to do when I was in the executive level was, hey, everyone in here, if you want to grow your authority, get to the next level, speak on stages, be on podcasts, be featured on Forbes, all these things, the best way to do that is to write a book. Now, when I first heard this, Philip, I was like, gosh, shit.
You got to go take yourself out back and execute yourself. Like, I'm not writing a book.
Well, here's the thing. I'm like, man, I just paid y'all like multiple 5 figures and now I got to write a book which costs more money. It's like, I'm trying to make money and I'm spending money. So once again, I was not like, yay, let me go write a book. But obviously, that day changed my mind. And here's why I changed my mind. I started seeing people go through this process, and just by simply getting to the other side, not even becoming a bestseller, but just like I got my book done and I'm out there, I'm an official author. I saw those people's businesses started just booming from that, right? And it was all because of the perception and the authority piece that having that book simply creates. Less than 1% of people ever become authors. Yet, if I'm willing to bet, if you ask 99% of people, they're willing to say that at some point they got a book in them that they want to tell. So as I went through that process and I hired a publisher and I'm going through all the things, I'm like, all right, let's do this. That's when I started like discovering the process and how this works. Now, funny enough, the first book we go through, I actually didn't get bestseller. I was so pissed, man. And dude, we sold a bunch. We sold a shit ton of books. Like I know I marketed it. Like we had a ton out there, right? But I didn't get bestseller because I didn't know what I didn't know, right? I didn't understand how the book publishing game works with SEO on Amazon. I didn't understand the back end. I didn't understand the launch dates. I didn't understand. I didn't know what I didn't know. And my publisher at the time didn't help me with any of that, right? So I get the book done, but it's not bestseller. So as I go through this, my wife, oh my God, my wife, Renee, she's amazing, right? She's literally the backbone to like everything, but she's now our chief publisher. But at the time, she just watched me go through it and she was just inspired to write her own book. And she was someone that's like, I want to write a book. And I'm like, I don't want to write a book, but it makes sense for business. So two totally different mindsets, right? So she asked me, she goes, Jonathan, what's the one thing you would have done differently to get bestseller with this? I go, well, I would have looked into the back end and I would have made sure that I personally went in there and was very clear on what are the metrics for what we need for bestseller and really honing in those keywords and those categories, right? I shared that with her. She got into researching. We figured it out. She pumped out her first book, Leading Through Love. She got bestseller, dude, within 2 hours. I was so proud and pissed at the same time, Philip. I was clapping for her, but part of me was like, you mother trucker.
I'm gonna clap like extra hard, like
yeah, man. So there's a little bit of that, but I was like, wow. And then once again, she edited and did everything herself because her background is she's a vice president of a large learning and development section for a vet company, and she's gotten accolades for learning and development of globally for second place out of the whole world. She's had all these things that have just kind of uniquely qualified her for editing and revising and putting together books. So after we went through and did hers, I was like, okay, maybe we're on to something. So we do our next first book collab for a mastermind that I have called Fit Pro Collective. Once again, I bring in another publisher. I didn't get paid for any of this, by the way, Philip. None of it. Because I wasn't confident to ask for the money and take a project and guarantee bestseller. Now, here's what I did know. I know how to get bestseller, but we had never gone through the running that type of thing ourselves. So we brought in another publisher, made him a bunch of money, ended up having to do half the work anyway, Philip. I had to go in and clean up behind him.
Wow.
And I'm like, I gave you all this money. I'm not making any of it. I did this at the time because for me, I wanted to use it as a branding tool to bring awareness for the mastermind. And I was basically bringing up every member we had that wanted to be a best-selling author and go, hey, here's your opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. So once again, as I went through that, that's when I was like, all right, honey, do you know how to do this part now? She goes, I got this. Let's go. So we do our next book collab, Real Talk with Real Business Pros, How to Win the Competitive Marketplace. Philip, we freaking crush it, dude. Like we got bestseller before noon. And it was like bestseller for a week straight too. Not just on launch day, a week straight.
Man.
And from there, dude, we've gotten tons of solo books. Like we've got, I believe, 6 officially underneath our belt that are all bestsellers. So part of what we do, man, is we guarantee bestseller for the authors we work with. We also understand that who we're working with are actually busy people They're CEOs, they're business owners, they're solopreneurs. They don't need an editor that's going to go, hey, here's a bunch of revisions. Go look at it and dig in there and let me know what you think.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for that. That's what my publisher did to me. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? This is what I hired you for.
Right? I hired you just to fix it. Now tell me what needs to be fixed. What do you think?
Yeah, you're making me do it.
Yeah.
And I'm paying you $8,000.
Yeah.
So, dude, here's the thing. I'm not a publisher. I'm a business owner that happens to be pretty badass at publishing. There's a difference. We actually understand our customers and our clients. I know where they're at. I know what they go through because I'm them. And I also know where they want to go. And through publishing the book, this is what's allowed me to speak on stage, get on podcasts, get featured on multiple publications, and really build my authority as the expert in what I do. So that's what we specialize in. And once again, Philip, it's just the coolest feeling in the world, man, to take someone's story. And we all have imposter syndrome, right? None of us feel like we're good enough or we're qualified. I don't care who you are. It never goes away. You just get better at dealing with it the levels you go up. But to be able to walk someone through that process and speaking to them and give them permission to share that story and then show them how to go win with it, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
I love it. And that's exactly how I feel when it comes to the public speaking side of things.
Dude, yeah, man.
And I want to go back, way back to the beginning when we talked about real quick. But I had that same journey with the fitness side where I felt like I was trying to help people out and work on helping people out and getting them the results. And then I started to hate the fitness too. I started not to work out. And so it's funny how we had that same almost breakdown, if you will.
Well, here's the good thing. You got out before you lost all your hair. So that's good. And if you're watching this, I'm bald, so that's my bald joke. I used to have beautiful hair. I used to put gel. I looked like a Backstreet Boy. I was gorgeous. And then that fitness industry just stole all my hair, dude.
Man. But then the other side of that, you said, I noticed the timeline there about 7 years ago, 7 years ago, you were just stressed out. You weren't there with your wife. And then now all of a sudden, a year and a half ago, you had a child. So you got out of the one industry and all of a sudden, I guess there was a relationship that happened to be there.
Dude, so it's funny, man. So I met Renee back when I lived in Tennessee, and this was the first big corporate franchise gym I worked at called The Rush. That's where I met Renee, and she was a trainer just like me. We actually hated each other when we met. For real, each other.
Who has the bigger calves?
Oh, she definitely does, dude. She's got those Puerto Rican genetics from her dad. I always joke with her all the time. But anyway, dude, funny story. So we met at the gym, and every guy's hitting on her. And I'm like, dude, that's not how you get it. And she has the baseball cap down and the glasses, universal, don't talk to me. But none of the guys are paying attention. I'm shooting my shot. I'm like, okay. So I'm watching all these guys go bomb as they're hitting on her, and she's just a member. Well, then my general manager ended up pitching her on you should be a trainer here. And she accepted. She came on. And I was like, all right, now I'm going to take my shot at her. I go, hey, don't worry, new girl. I'm going to mentor you. Man, that pissed her off so bad, dude. She was like, oh, you're going to mentor me. I go, yeah, I got you. Because I was young. I was cocky. I was a lot of things back then, Philip. But as we go through that, she ends up challenging me to a sales contest that month. And you want to hear the bet? The bet was this. If she beat me, I was going to have to wear panties underneath my, my pants I'm wearing at the gym. And then, what she was going to have to do? Wear a pair of rubber balls. I told her if she wanted to act like a man, I could treat her like one. So we go into this, right? We're going head to head. Dude, she's kicking my ass, dude. She's brand new to training. I'm an expert because I've been doing this for all of 2.5 years. Right? So she's beating my ass, right? So I'm going through there, dude. She's dropping 24 session packages for $1,500. And the only thing I can sell are 6-packs, dude. So I'm just chipping away, getting it towards that goal. We get to the last day of the month, closeout, Friday, 6 o'clock. I'll never forget this. I was walking my client, Beth Morrison. It's crazy, dude. I remember her name, and it's been that damn long. I remember walking her up, and I'm just sitting there, and my fitness manager and my wife are behind the desk, and Renee is just kind of grinning at me because she's like, I got you beat. You're going to have to wear panties. I'm like, oh, no. So I'm going up there to schedule my client, and my client looks up and goes, hey, what's that banner up there? I look up, and it's buy 20, get 10 free. I go, Beth, that's a great question. Why don't we go ahead and meet with Reggie, who was like the sales guy? And I was thinking, let's go ahead and we'll go over that package with you, and we'll get you hooked up. It's actually the last day of the month that we're doing this. So she's like, yeah, sounds great. So I'm walking with her. I have my arm around her. I look back. My fitness manager's like doing this because he's happy as shit. He hit bonus for like the first time ever because me and my wife just carried his whole goal, right? Renee's watching, just like shaking her head. And I look back and I flip her one of these. As I'm closing the deal. Now, after that, I didn't make her wear the rubber balls. Wasn't about that, right? I'm not going to do that to you. But from that is where we earned respect. For one another. That became friendship. Friendship became, attraction. Here we are, man. We've been together for 15, 16 years. I don't even keep track anymore, dude. We've just been doing life ever since.
Man, that's awesome. And I just had to give you a hard time about that, how you didn't have time. Now all of a sudden you got a kid and everything. But let's jump back in, man. That was a great story, too. I love that. Love the competition there. I can tell that's just you. You're very competitive, very high performer, very driven. So it's just been you. But we started talking about this book, writing this bestseller. I would love to dive into, and we'll go kind of broad, and we'll start going in after that.
Okay.
What can a book do for you, whether you're number one bestseller or not? And we'd love to, if there are differences as well, would love to know about that. But what can you being an author do for you in your life and business?
So the first thing is you got to understand the difference between force moves and power moves. Okay. Force moves are the things that you do that create a result. So for example, calling the leads. I know if I follow up with X amount of leads, I'm going to make X amount of money. Problem with that is if that's based on me showing up and calling the leads, that is a force move, which requires my physical time and effort in order to make that task complete. A power move, though, is something that you can do one time or do something with the least amount of effort and energy, but gets the most amount of impact and results, right? That is where writing a book comes in, right? The book is going to allow you to go multiple different directions. It's really based on what's your end goal. So if your goal is to grow your authority, right? Once again, having a book is going to separate you. I do not care what industry you're in. I am willing to bet. And if I'm wrong, by all means, Phil, I will eat my own words with this, right? But if you're someone that's out there and you're realizing this isn't the direction that I want to go with this, then you need to think about how you're doing stuff and think of a different way of does it make sense of how I want to get there at the end of the day? So with the book, just by simply becoming an author with this sets you apart. Your competition is not doing this. So as people are looking and trying to determine, do I work with you, Philip, or your competitor? But Philip's is a best-selling author. Who do you think they're going to pick? They're going to pick the best-selling author. And also, as you do this, there's different methods and ways that, once again, we teach all this stuff, is how are you using the book to get on podcasts? How are you using the book to write for Forbes and Authority and Thrive Global? How are you using the book to create opportunities to start getting speaking opportunities, which once again, Phil, that's why you're an expert at what you're doing for that part of it. The book is really the gateway key to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, outside of that, dude, there's tons of things you can do. It's just within your business. So when my book first came out, you know what I did? I sent 5 author copies to some hot leads that I've been working. Do you ever have those leads where it's you've been working them for a while and it's just man, just buy. They're right on the edge, man.
Yeah, they're teasing you. Yeah, I'm ready. And then something comes up and, I want to do this.
Yeah,
and
they just won't tip. right?
Yeah.
So what I did, I had about 3 of those. I had 5, but as I reached out to them, 3 of them, because I sent them a author copy of my book, which just cost me all of $2, sent it to them.
I don't know how you afforded that.
I know, right? And dude, 3 of those people did $6,000 consulting packages with me. So $6, $12, $18,000 off of me sending them $6 worth of my book.
Man.
Not a bad ROI.
No,
right?
not at all.
Other things you can do too. You can infuse this as another revenue stream for your business. Once again, you can sell the book. You can determine the price that you sell the book for. Right? There's a lot of flexibility with that. It's also a great lead magnet tool. Once again, like if you go on the internet, like I'm willing to bet if you're in business, you have seen a Frank Kern ad about, hey, buy the book, just pay for shipping. How many times have you seen that strategy?
Oh, yeah.
All over the place. There's a reason. The book builds authority. The book provides value. What we do is figure out, based on your end goal, how do we write the book, design the book, and then build the back end for the after the book when they buy it? How do we streamline that to move them towards your core service? That's what we do with the book, not just writing a book. It's like, I want to tell a story. No, it's intentional. Yes, we're going to tell the story, but it's doing it in a way that's going to build your brand and it's going to move you towards your business goals. And once again, everyone's different, right? We've got people that are doing like high 7 figures in their business, right? They have different goals for their book. I've got some people, man, that are still, they're doing low 6 figures, but they want to use this as an opportunity to start making a name for themselves. So once again, it's there's multiple ways you can use it. It's just getting clear on what's that end game for you. And that's part of what I'm good at helping.
So let's dive into that. Let's say somebody wants to write a book, or maybe they've already written a book and they want to just then get it out there a little bit better because maybe they had a bad experience. Maybe they just did it on their own. They don't know exactly what to do. How can we then take a book or the book we've already written and go start to build that personal brand around ourselves using that book?
So there's a couple ways, man. So one of the things I recommend is so we go through Amazon, by the way, right? That's where we do all of our real books. Like I'm not talking about like an ebook, like which you can make and they can download. But so once the book comes out, here's the issue with if you just promote the book, which is great, you're not getting any of that data. Right? Like it's great when people go, hey, I bought your book, and they take a screenshot. I don't have your data though. I don't have your first name. I don't have your last name. I don't have your email. I don't have your phone number. Like I don't have any of that stuff. So one of the things you can do is by simply adding your book into a funnel that requires them to opt in. That's something where you may decide I'll give the book for free if you opt in this way and get it. Or what you can do is have it still be paid, but provide something of additional value that they sign up for in order to get their contact information, right? And the reason you do it that way is as you use the book, you're getting contact information all along the way. And that's the name of the game. It's data and the ability to get people's attention. Those are the highest value points. It's actually higher than oil now, is attention. Ain't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I like the funnel idea. That makes a ton of sense there. And so what are some things that we can do to kind of help add that value? So obviously the very obvious one that's all out there is, free plus shipping kind of thing. So obviously you have to get their information, but what are some things that maybe we could do? And let's go with the caveat that we're speakers. We're trying to get that out there. So most likely we're doing coaching or we're in a leadership position. So it's more of a service versus a product-based business. So what can we do to help tack on to make it more valuable to get their information?
Yeah. So dude, the best way to sell coaching? Give them a taste of it. Ain't rocket science, man. Dude, we're in the gym. You want to know how I sold supplements? Try this. Do you like it? I love it. Awesome. Here's what it does. Awesome. Would you like to buy it? Yes. That's how simple it is. And we overcomplicate things. So once again, it's based on like what your course is and all this, but I'll give you a couple examples. One thing you could do is do a short mini video course that goes more in depth on some of the principles or methods that you're expounding on within your book, right? So it's almost like a mini free course that they're getting with that. Those that read the book and those that go through the course, those are high quality leads. Like if someone's reading your book and going through your course, likelihood of them having a level of interest with your product or services is going to be pretty high as you go through that. So that's one way to do that. Other coaches and consultants I've worked with do a lot of large group, right? They come in and, there's set call times each week and you get in where you fit in. Once again, there's different masterminds and how they run those. But something else you could do is like, hey, offer a free trial to the mastermind that you're doing. Let them come check it out. Like the way I look at it, Philip, it's like church, man. You don't come to church because Keith Kraft ran a Facebook ad. You come to church because someone at church is like, this is freaking awesome. Dude, just come to one, check it out. That's how you grow it.
Yeah.
So just invite them in. And then once again, if you're actually good at what you do, they'll stick. They'll go, I like this. I need more of this. Awesome. And there's ways you can automate all of that so that you don't even have to talk to them about the sales. It's just automated. You just focus on coaching.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so I would love to hear just the either coolest or most bizarre, like you decide on what kind of story, but of somebody that wrote a book or most unlikely person that you've helped author a book and how that transformed them.
Oh, that's such a good question. Damn you, Philip. You're going to make me pick one. Damn it.
I know. And I'm going to share this with everybody in all the groups that you're part of and be like, Jonathan said this person is his favorite person. So if you've ever worked with him, you'll get your money back now.
Hey, all of our publishing sites, I love all of you. But let's be honest. We all have favorites. It's like I tell my daughter she's my favorite daughter, but she's my only daughter.
Yeah,
so,
right?
it works out for her. No, but seriously, man. Dude, the one I'm going to go with is there's this one author we had. It was for our first fitness book collab. Her name's Marilyn. And dude, the story she told about how she created her gym and really how she came to land on who she serves and how she serves them was by far the favorite. And the long and the short of it is she's a cancer survivor. And through that experience, man, was the catalyst to have her totally change her life and then create a gym that really focuses on helping other people that are in that place. So once again, man, I'm a huge sucker for an underdog story. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the people that have a gold mine story, but they just don't realize it because they just need to have someone from the outside that's not them that has imposter syndrome, because we all have that with our own story. Those are the people I'm looking for that, hey, let's go ahead and put that out there. Those are the superstars, the sleeping giants, to say.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what I try and help bring out from the speaking side is bring out that story. And I'd love to hear your perspective. I feel like they're very similar in the aspect that you have a message, you have a story that you can share on a stage, as well as you can go share it in that book. How do you help coach people to bring out or extract that story out of them? Because your story doesn't resonate with everybody. My story doesn't resonate with everybody.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we get in our mind that, well, I'm not like this person who has millions or billions of followers, so therefore I shouldn't share that story. But we know that's the furthest thing from the truth. So what do you suggest, or how do you help your clients get over that limited mindset there?
Yeah, dude, great question. So the way we do this is we do it through what we call an outline, right? The outline is what's going to make or break your book creating experience. It's like SOPs. You need SOPs for your business. If you don't have SOPs, you're going to have a bad time. A little self-part joke for y'all. Y'all check that out. But as we go through this, dude, it's really it's a conversation, man. Because once again, most people don't know the story that they want to tell yet. They have an idea, but they don't know the exact story, the exact message. They just have like, I want to go in this direction, and here's what I'm thinking. What we do is through just having a conversation, having them share the story, we literally break down, here's your chapter 1, here are your main talking points. Here's your chapter 2, here are your main talking points. Here's your, so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to the actual writing part, dude, this is the best part. You don't actually have to write the book. Yeah, you heard me. You don't actually have to write it. Now, I'm also not saying that you throw it into ChatGPT and be a lazy POS. I'm not saying that either. What I'm saying is, obviously, you can write the book, but what I have found to be the most effective for CEOs and high-performing business professionals like me, right, is to actually record yourself telling the story and then having that audio transcribed through like rev.com, for example. And then that becomes, voila, your first draft on what you're doing. Because the story that you tell, like, dude, you're going to know the story because it's your story. The problem with people when they go through is most people don't know how to tell stories. So that's where I come in. I'm good at, here's the beginning, here's the middle, here's this, here are your main points. Use this to keep you on track to record your first transcription for your chapter 1. And once again, done is better than perfect. Get it done. We have a badass editing team over here that can, once again, we had one author give us 2 pages for an 8-page required book. Man, what we were able to do from that 2 pages to like, once again, get the core essence of what he was trying to communicate, but help him with how to expound on that. Dude, we were able to buff that thing out. And he was like, man, this is awesome, dude. I sound like I'm like actually smart. I'm like, well, you are, man. We just helped guided the words a little bit for you as you go through that. So the long and the short of it, Phil, that's how we help people with that part.
I like it. I couldn't help but think when you talk about expanding that 2-page paper into 8 pages, I did this. I'm sure there's other people that did that. You go in there and you make the decimal, like instead of size 12 font, it's size 16 font. So they expand it just ever so slightly to make it another page or 2 in the end.
Dude, yeah. So there's some editing wizardry that my wife Renee is fantastic at.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, though, there's still like a minimum page amount and a certain this. So in this case, we had to actually buff it up a little bit and help him with like filling in the words to guide him along the way with it. And once again, not everyone's the same. We have some authors that like they love writing.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, you psycho.
Right? I can't stand it.
I love looking at a white screen and just typing, which I'm like, God bless you. My wife did it that way.
Yeah.
That's great. Ooh. I can't do it that way. That was going to give me a panic attack.
Yeah.
The recording way is how I found to be the most effective way to do it.
Yeah. I actually, when I wrote my first book, I started that way, like typing it out. And I think I got like 20 or 30 pages in. And then I'm like, dude, I'm done. That's all I got. And then I had a buddy who was like, dude, he's like, you talk all the time. He's like, why don't you talk it out? And of course, my engineering side, it's like, oh, let's straight to the point. Let's not talk things out. Let's not elaborate, just straight to the point. And then I spoke it out and I ended up getting it up to about, I think in all it was about 80 pages, something like that. So
dude, that's still like, that's respectable, man. Like, you want to know where most people get to? 0 pages.
Yeah. Yeah. But that whole speaking it out is such a great thing. And it's funny you say, if we go through in chapter 1, we have, the idea of what we want, and then we create some subpoints, if you will, the subjects that overall support that overall topic within that chapter. That's pretty much what I do when it comes to speaking on stage. When we have an idea of our overarching theme, what do we want to speak about? And then we create a couple of points underneath that support that theme overall. And of course, add stories in to create that fluff, create the buy-in and all that good stuff. But pretty much the same way, whether you're speaking or writing a book, obviously a book, it's a lot more information involved in a book versus speaking on stage, but very similar process there to build out a speech or an individual chapter within a book. So that's right. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, man, it's one of those things that I didn't know that was an option for how you can go about doing it. And then once I realized, I was like, oh, man, that's just so much more digestible.
Yeah.
To go about that,
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. Like, you want it to be digestible. You want it to be something that people can very easily read. And I've noticed a lot of people like that when it's a quote unquote easy read. That tends to be what people like to read more than something that is super dense. It's got so, I mean, yes, it's great. It's got a lot of information, but it's just so much. It's hard for them to grasp. And then it just feels like, you know, those books where it's like size 2 font and you're having to like read and it takes you 20 minutes to read one page. Like, nobody wants that. So it's nice whenever you've got it nice. It's good stories in there, got a good flow, got good information, but it's almost like bite size versus I'm taking a whole, just putting the whole elephant in at once, like just trying to eat the whole thing at once instead of one bite at a time.
Right. Absolutely.
So, man, well, Jonathan, dude, this has been awesome. I love talking about the process of books, how it can really help your business and everything. If people want to reach out, see what you got going on, maybe do some business with you, where's the best place that they can do that?
Yeah, man. So I've got my podcast, Real Talk with Real Business Pros. Obviously, you can check that out to hear more of like conversations like this. I think the best place is I'll actually drop my free smart self-publishing course, which basically goes over the steps if you want to self-publish, how to go about that, and then once again, how to actually get that book, and also like the guidance of like setting you up the hit bestseller and what you're doing with that. So I'll drop that for you, and you can drop that in the show notes. So if that's something you're interested in, y'all can register for that. And it's absolutely free, doesn't cost anything.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely put that in the show notes. But Jonathan, I appreciate you coming on the show, giving us some value, giving us a lot of funny stories that we could laugh here and have a great conversation. I definitely enjoyed this, and I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, you too, man. It's been an honor being on, brother. I appreciate you as well.